Welcome to my second lockdown walk video, the continuation of a sunny, windy, spring day walk that has so far taken a meandering tour around this graveyard. And heading out of the south gate, I'm immediately greeted by a patch of green alkanet, which seems to grow here and on Sylvia Plath's grave, and they are a good 60 or so meters apart. It's only remarkable because I remarked upon it in the previous video. It does grow wild around here, and perhaps in more places in this graveyard than I've noticed, and maybe I only noticed them because they seemed unusual to be growing lush alongside poppies on a tended grave. Anyway, now we're heading approximately south through the village to continue the walk with a bit of an explorational wander around the old village dump site. 2 miles across the valley, there is a monument on a hill called Studley Pike. It's the hill that's called that, although when mentioned as a walking destination it's usually the monument that people are meaning. It was actually designed as a replacement for an earlier monument to commemorate the defeat of Napoleon, which had stood there since 1815 and collapsed after a lightning strike in 1854, on the same day that the Russian ambassador left London before the declaration of the Crimean War. The replacement was completed at roughly the same time as peace returned, in 1856. As far as records suggest, these allotments were built on top of part of the dump site. Not the whole of it by any means. Even a small village like this one produced a lot of waste, and this site was still in use as late as the 1980s. It stretches across where I'm panning the camera, and beyond the tree line. I've met people who've dug here, and they do claim that the rumours of asbestos being dumped here are merely rumours, but the historical record suggests there was indeed a contract between the council and the manufacturers of asbestos-filled gas masks at the notorious 3-acre mill site in Beckett Well to dump waste asbestos here. So, aside from the fact that I'm not really a bottle digger, I wouldn't risk it, and I highly recommend that no one watching this video risks digging here either. Bottles are not worth the slow loss of healthy lung function. But all that said, I'm not averse to a no-touching tour of what is, after all, quite a picturesque place, more in keeping with my usual YouTube content than the graveyard was. Okay, and here we go. I've only been into this site once before, near the beginning of the lockdown, and that was to pick some elf-cap fungus which was growing here. I had a little bit of a look around, but nowhere near a full explore. I did see this dig a hole, but didn't really check it out, so... Ordinarily I'd inspect that vintage fire extinguisher, considering if I could get the brasswork off the top without too much effort. I doubt it, but I'd look anyway. First paste jar of the day. Oh, and it's one I've not found before, and it is of course finding things I've not found before that keeps me enthusiastic. Poison bottle, screw top and no warning, so although it is something I'd usually take, I don't mind. This is a very well drained dump site. Most of the metal that went into it is still recognisable for what it was. The dump site I usually frequent eats all the iron and steel and dramatically bleeds iron oxide. That's something I don't think I've seen before. A corrugated metal bottle. Anyone have any idea what it was for? that looks like the corner of a glass battery case poking out. Probably just the corner. Yep, just the corner. Another bottle digger hole, and some mostly complete cod bottles. I still haven't found a whole one, and without digging my own holes I don't know if I ever will. Even plain ones would be things the average bottle digger would take if they were intact. There is a channel called Good Things Come to Those Who Wade, who find lots of them and other great finds intact in rivers. That would be fun. I would happily visit where they hunt one day if at all possible, and happily guide them to good sites if they ever wanted to come up to Yorkshire, though their channel seems to be sadly fairly dormant these days. I must admit, as lino goes, the pattern on this is quite appealing, and I don't think I've ever said that about lino before. Worth bearing in mind that there's some wild raspberries here. I doubt they'll produce good fruit, but might be worth a look in summertime. Actually, scratch that. In summertime this place will be a sea of nettles. Oh, melted bottle. Don't see many of those intact. And the apothecary style bottle is one I might have taken, although I probably wouldn't have had good success in trying to clean it up. So, silver linings. And it's a nice day for it. Bracket fungus, marginal medicinal properties, and a tiny shoe. I mean really tiny. Here is my hand for reference, and it's a fairly normal sized hand of a man, so it's probably a baby shoe, although I wouldn't expect a baby to need such a work boot like construction to their footwear. Ooh, okay, it's not the form that would be particularly problematic, but proof positive that there is at least some asbestos in this site. Starting to get the first glimpse of what I really came here for. This dump is at the top of a steep hill, and the views are pretty good. I've been enjoying them for a long time before I knew the dumpsite was here, hidden amongst the trees. That's a plastic pot. If it was ceramic, it would be something I'd take, and as it's already in a dump site and there's a lockdown on, I won't be touching it today, even though I can tell it's a recyclable plastic. We will get to the view, but bottles first. Sauce bottle, masquerading as something more interesting. Okay, nice little patch of these. I do think I quite like these square-bodied, round-topped, jar-like bottles, and although I'm certainly not going to touch them, so hard as they are to determine when they were last touched, I think if no one's taken them by the end of the lockdown, I might come back for them. Can anyone tell me what they held? I'll admit I wasn't expecting to find much here, and I haven't really, but there are some nice things which would be good for craft work if properly respected. I mean securely packaged and transported home and thoroughly cleaned off while wearing a decent mask to prevent the possibility of errant asbestos fibres getting into your lungs. I can't see any obvious problematic asbestos, but better safe than sorry. Nice little sheer top bottles, they'd usually be things I'd take. There can't be many significant sized dump sites with views like this. Don't worry, I'll go beyond the trees eventually. I'm just being systematic and making sure I don't miss any interesting finds first. Part of an antique lawnmower. Could be good for a sculpture perhaps, or a very ambitious restoration project. And I admit, I have thought of doing some restoration projects. I've been looking out for interesting possibilities that might make for fun but relaxing videos. Oh, not much left. That's a shame. Right, this is going to be a balancing act getting up here without touching things. Not seeing much. That though, that looks interesting. Well, it's a thing we've seen many times before. Bit of a Victorian foot warmer, but it's tiny. I thought the intact one I found was small and child-sized. This one must be baby-sized. I'm guessing the intact thing held little more than a pint of hot water and would have been much quicker to cool. Bovril jar. That's only the second one of these I've seen. Demi milk glass, little translucent cosmetic cream pot. And I've walked into a cul-de-sac of branches, which I'd have to touch to get through, so it's back the way I came. I thought I'd reached the end of the dump site, but there's still a few jars intact. And pottery broken. Down there, a broken teacup, which is in a precarious place. There does seem to be a bit of a path, and it's going where I want to go, so I may as well follow. That's my rucksack banging on a low branch, so that's now going to be quarantined when I get back too, because it is obviously a path that people might have used recently to get to this lookout point. Time for a trigger warning. People with vertigo might wish to look away now. The lookout point was starting to get a little bit crowded. There's another, clearer path to it than the one I used, and it's a fairly small place for people to maintain social distance in, so I'm heading back now, through the dump, make sure I haven't missed any of it. I wasn't planning on doing any foraging in the dump site, but there's a variegated purple dead nettle, not exactly sure which one, but edible, and the flowers and young leaves can be a good addition to a salad. So I'll take a few, leaving at least 3/4 for the bees. Looks like the other half of the baby foot warmer. Maybe not, but same size anyway. I've never seen them that small before. Ceramic spool. And there, hiding amongst the nettles and the moss, it would be an unusual dump exploration video if I didn't find some willow pattern. Is it worth now filming the walk back through where I've already filmed? Well, I guess maybe I missed a few things. It's a nice day anyway, and while the wind isn't blowing too much, I may as well film. You can shout out if you see anything I've missed, and through time and space, maybe I'll get the message. Quite a nice little beer bottle. Is that going to be a lung tonic bottle? Nope. Says, let's see, Dupree. Not one I know. I'll cover it up a bit and maybe collect it one day. Before I head off for the next part of today's planned exercise, I'm going to hop into this field, avoiding the gate which human hands might have touched, and have a little wander over to see what the view is like of my hometown. I hope you've enjoyed this part of the outing. If you have enjoyed it, then please give it a like, a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, hit the bell icon to get notifications of new content when it goes live, share if you know other people who you think might enjoy it. I have a Ko-fi account linked in the description for if you wish to buy me a hypothetical coffee. I hope you're all keeping safe and healthy and helping people if you can. Thank you all very much for watching, and for now, goodbye.